it's Dr. Beran Parry, and I'm so delighted to be here on this podcast where the wonderful Tina will be interviewing me. And Tina is this amazing life coach who's gone on transformational journeys, both to Machu Picchu and also to Kilimanjaro. And she's got the most fantastic story to tell. And she herself has gone through some amazing transformations. But this time round, she's talking to me about all the questions she has from her audience. And I'm so delighted. It's very overdue, and I can't wait to get started. So over to you, Tina.
Thank you so much, Dr. Beran. I am extremely excited to get going on this because, as you know, because of my journey, I now have a huge interest in health. And for the viewers, my background is training and coaching. I've been a life coach now for 25 years with individuals and with corporate companies, and help people with their goals, their, achieving their dreams. And a lot of that is to do with their mindset. But obviously, my own journey has taught me, I was aware, like most people are before, that health is important. But until I had my own health journey, that really sort of sent it home to me. Without your health, you have nothing. So, I've decided that I really want to incorporate the health side of things into the other work that I do. 3 years ago now, I had an episode of shingles, and that wasn't the cause, but it was the trigger, if you like, that took me over the edge. And to cut a very long story short, which I'll post on my blog if people want to know more, cut a long story short, it was my face blew up. I looked like I'd done 12 rounds, with a boxer. And it was all to do with the allergies from the medications I was given by the general, doctors.
That's
And
very
what happened was the
typical.
shingles
Yes.
medication. And initially, of course, that's what we thought it was, and we looked into, but it wasn't that, because I finally, in desperation, ended up going down the natural health route. And it was before I knew Dr. Beran, otherwise I would have gone to her first. But I went to a doctor who was a natural health, I had to travel to go and see him, but he spent an hour with me. Now, general doctors don't have that ability or time, I get that. And he found out that the root cause was medication that I'd been given 5 years earlier for high blood pressure. And what had been happening is the toxins had been building up in my body, and then the shingles medication finally took me over the edge, and my system just crashed. So now, of course, what I would love to talk with you about is, okay, so what's the difference then? Because natural health medicine cured me. I've never had the same problem again. So what is it about natural medicine? What's the difference between what Big Pharma are doing and what you're doing with natural medicine?
That's a brilliant question. Now, bear in mind that conventional medicine is made up of various chemicals, because in order to obtain a patent, a pharmaceutical company must include a chemical medicine. Natural medicines can't be patented. So they convert what probably was something natural before into something chemical. And therein the problem lies, because when a conventional medication is prescribed by a conventional medical doctor, it's done under the idea that this is the only thing that can fix you, or at least fix your symptoms. The question is not whether it's actually going to fix the root cause. They just want to fix the symptoms, because that way you will come back again and need more medicine. So it is a downward spiral, unfortunately, towards ill health if it's not used correctly. Now, occasionally we need acute medicine in acute situations. So sometimes to save a life, we might have to use an antibiotic or other types of medicines during emergency surgery. But the difference is that natural medicine is the only route to go for chronic conditions, unless you need chronic medical management, and then there may be a need for a little bit of both. But natural medicine is always the first choice route because it contains natural ingredients. And if these ingredients are used correctly, then there are no or certainly very little side effects. So the main thing is natural medicine also needs to be handled correctly. And that's why natural medicine doctors have an important role to play so
Yeah,
that they can prescribe a natural ingredient in the right dosages.
absolutely. And I love that. I want to pick up on something that you just said there about traditional medicine. It's become very specialized. So, for example, the thing that presented itself for me first was a rash around my eye, and that was like 5 or more years ago. And I went, and it was like, oh, there you go, have some cream. I put the cream on, the rash went away. I stopped using the cream, the rash came back. Whereas to to fix me, we needed to look at the body as a whole. And actually, the rash was just a symptom of something that was starting to go on with my liver and kidneys,
Of course.
to do with the toxins. And I think that's what's missing. And I don't want to knock big pharma medicine. I know that it has a lot of knockers out there. And as you've said, there is a place for both. I have a friend who works in pharmaceuticals, and some of the miracle stories she's telling me about life saving and transformation is amazing. So I do want to be clear that I'm, not completely against it and knocking it. However, as you say, natural is the first method for me. So, um, tell me more about the way that you work with the whole body diagnostics rather than just, treating the symptom. Because I think people, are really going to be interested in that side of things.
In functional medicine, the first aspect of your health that we look at, of everyone's health, is what is the level of inflammation in the body? Because when, on a cellular level, when a cell becomes inflamed, that is the beginning of all illness, all disease, all conditions, is how inflamed is that cell and how is that inflammation affecting the rest of the body? Now, the first port of call is, of course, nutrition, what we eat. So gut inflammation and gut status plays a very important role. But
Mm.
then, and that leads on to your immune system. So does the immune system play an important role. And then we go to all the organs. How are they functioning? It's all functional. That's what's going to tell us what the root cause is. We then go on to the hormones, the hormone structure. We also look at the skin, and we look at the way in which the musculoskeletal system operates. And when you combine all of that together, then you can come up with a diagnosis and a protocol that is appropriate. Because without all of that knowledge, you're only getting one part of the story.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. Absolutely. And I've got loads of questions I posted on Facebook, as you know, to say, hey,
I
have
saw it was amazing. I loved all the questions. And certainly, if we
um
don't have time today, we can go on and do a second round. Don't worry.
fabulous. Because when we wrap up, I also want to ask you a little bit more about, how you source your ingredients to blend your medicines and all that kind of thing. But first of all, some of the questions that I had, you mentioned about hormones, and one of the questions that I had was, what is the way forward, for things like, menopausal belly and weak bones and other issues, when our hormones change with the menopause.
Right. Hormonal balance consists of not just one hormone. So when we say progesterone, when we say estrogen, estrogen actually has three different types. You have estrone, estradiol, and estriol. So it's not as simple as just doing a blood test and checking, right, what is that, and then that's it, we'll give you the hormone. That's unfortunately where conventional medicine is given hormonal tablets, and that has caused disasters with our liver. So if you're looking at something like hormonal balance, and in this, I'm making it more general, but in this case, it's for menopause, could be perimenopause, premenopause, could be male andropause. But all of these hormonal balances have to be dissected carefully. Now, we always need a blood test to at least get an idea of what's going on. Now, the blood test will give us part of the story, but not the whole story. If we want the whole story, we have to look at something called urine metabolites. These are the actual hormones and how they work on a cellular level. The blood test is only about the presence of hormone in the blood. So we need really, ideally, these two aspects. Now, blood test is easy to do, not too expensive, and everyone can get that, normally, hopefully, on their medical insurance. The Dutch test, which tests the metabolites, is a little more expensive, but it's an investment into what's really happening if you want to be able to fix it. Once you look at what the solutions are, those involve bioidentical hormone gels. Those are very safe because they absorb through the skin transdermally. So you don't get any risks of the hormones, first of all, being synthetic and also being absorbed through the liver and creating other problems. So how we use the solutions is very, very important in the whole thing. So that's why getting a proper hormone diagnostic, whether it's menopause or any other kind of hormonal issue, and then using a natural bioidentical solution that doesn't interfere with your organs.
Okay, lovely. Oh, this is so amazing. I wish we had 3 hours. Okay, another question somebody was interested in was the omega-3 fish oils. How much do they thin the blood? Can they be used instead of, for example, a pharmaceutical blood thinner, for things like blood pressure and all that kind of thing?
Very good question. So there is no doubt from many, many medical studies that omega-3s definitely have a very positive, healthy effect on the level of blood quality. There's no doubt about that. And by taking omega-3s, we have Omega Boost in our range, you are helping to prevent disease or further disease to do with your cardiovascular system. So there's no doubt about that. Now, to comment on whether one can take the place of another it's too general. So depending on the degree of chronic cardiovascular disease that somebody has, now they may have a very serious case of a lot of issues within blood flow with their arteries, with their cardiovascular systems, and they may already have blockages. So it's impossible for us to say if omega-3s is the only thing that's needed. What I can say is that with the right lifestyle medicine and with a very good quality dosage of omega-3, you are going to definitely go towards having a much better cardiovascular situation. Now, it may be that that's all that you need. However, your blood needs to be checked. We need to check not only cardiovascular symptoms or like levels of cholesterol. We have to check things like apolipo A and B, which determine how much plaque there might be. And we can also look at other signs of inflammation like C-reactive protein, which will tell us what level of actual inflammation might be going on in the arteries and elsewhere in the body. So it's not as simple as just that, but it can be helped a lot, and I would suggest an overall evaluation with a professional functional medicine and natural medicine doctor to be able to know what to do.
Okay, that's brilliant, because there was also another similar question about somebody saying that they have heart failure and they absolutely hate being on the big pharma meds. They would love to find a doctor who really understands, how they feel. And later on, we'll talk about how people can kind of get in touch with you, because some of these people who follow me and have sent questions are not just here in Spain or the UK, but they're actually in the US as well. And I know that we can supply to the US, but how they...
Yes, I work all over the world. I have
Yeah.
patients on every continent.
Fabulous. Okay. Other questions. There was a question about somebody having arthritis and problems with their knees, and they're in pain and they can't dance anymore. And dancing is something which I know is a real passion. So, what can
Absolutely.
she
Let me
do?
answer you. So, absolutely. So, when you look at situations with arthritis, the underlying cause is again inflammation.
Yeah.
But you also have an autoimmune aspect of it, which has to be looked at and reviewed and tested. Now, however, I've worked with so many patients with arthritis of all different types, osteorheumatoid, and we have had a complete success where the pain is gone and they are able to move. Obviously, they have to still watch and be careful not to get into the same toxic state that they were in. But the great thing about any anti-inflammatory protocol is that it's going to help whatever inflammatory condition is going on.
Yeah. Well, the good news is she's local, so I'll put her in touch. And other question was about statins. Where's that gone? Yeah. Is there an alternative to statins apart from the usual, diet, exercise? And she makes a good point. It's almost like half the population is on them now, but it would be good to know about any alternatives, and also with, kind of other common things such as cholesterol.
Well, very interestingly, all the top cardiologists in the USA now are looking at the blood test results in a very different way. Before, it was always, well, you have very high LDL, so now you definitely have to go on statins. But that has changed. And if you are with a doctor who is extremely well read and well researched on a regular basis, they will know that what they really need to look at is the difference between your good cholesterol and your bad cholesterol, and whether or not you have a protective effect going on. Because a lot of these cardiovascular doctors and surgeons are no longer recommending as the first port of call the statins. They are looking at other indications of how much protection there might be from the other types of cholesterol, and whether the cholesterol might be high because of other issues like stress. And when you get rid of that, then you don't need to be on the statins anymore. But if somebody is on statins, it needs to be reviewed very carefully. But there is a lot of hope that that can be reviewed in a way that they can slowly reduce and come off them, change lifestyles, and look at natural ways of ensuring that their blood stays healthy.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you. Another couple of questions. How effective, we talked about nutrition. There's a lot of diets out there, such as like carnivore, keto, vegan. How effective are they? Or are they like, no, 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 this is a kind of fad thing and to be avoided? What's your opinion on those?
Well, diets are very, yes, you've got so many different types. However, with nutrition, the question is not initially the diet. The question is, how much sugar are you eating? Because the two most important hormones that affect your entire health are insulin and cortisol. Now, insulin is to do with your diet, because if you are eating a high sugar diet or a high carbohydrate diet, that means that your insulin will be spiked upwards constantly. And when your insulin spikes, then all the bad things happen. Then you have inflammation, then you have weight gain, then you have pain, and then you have hormonal imbalance. So the best eating strategy, because diets don't work because people go off them, the best eating strategy is one where your insulin is not constantly spiked, putting you into inflammation. That means that you do need to look at high protein. And high protein ideally would be high animal protein, but if you're vegetarian, it could be high vegetable protein, but things like tofu or hemp protein, things like that. So it's high protein, and then the carbs should be the vegetables. When you start having a complex carbs, they will immediately turn to sugar in the gut and then spike your insulin. So you've got to be very careful that you balance protein and good quality fat, and keep the carbs low, and keep them in healthy ones, so that you're not having the bad carbs. And of course, underlying all of that is processed foods. So if you're having a lot of processed junk food, that is simply not going to get you where you need to be with your health. So I call it the anti-inflammatory eating plan is what needs to be followed, and that can be adjusted according to, you know, what suits you best. And that's why having a professional nutritionist, functional health nutritionist or functional health doctor assess your nutrition. And we have a lot of nutritionists who work with us these days, functional health practitioners who are very well trained in this.
Oh, that's fantastic. Two, these are not quick questions, but I didn't want to ignore them, and we may need to do something future. But I got one question, which is about holistic treatments for cancer. Now, I know that's like a massive topic all on its own. And the other question was concerns about the impact of the vaccine. You know, the fact that it was an experimental vaccine that was like forced onto people, and you know, what are the consequences of that on the body and what can be done. So I know those are two big ones, but if you can address them really quickly before we wrap up, and because I do want to talk about your ingredients and where to go from here, that would be amazing. But I just wanted to acknowledge those questions.
Well, cancer treatment, again, cancer starts with inflammation.
Yeah.
However, how far has the cancer got? That's the question to ask. Where is it? You know, has it multiplied? Has it metastasized? Where has it gone? And the question really is, what have you done already, and what has been proposed? So there are so many answers, and that is going to be one podcast we can do only on that
Yeah.
subject.
Yeah.
But again, there's no doubt that sugar and inflammatory eating play a big part and big role in cancer,
Okay.
as well as stress and cortisol.
Yeah.
So there's that side of it. There is also a whole range of lifestyle medicine techniques to use if you have cancer or precancer. And having had precancer myself 24 years ago and
Right.
being completely cured of it, with it never reoccurring, I've got quite some stories to tell. So we should do something just on that.
We should.
We're talking about the vaccines. Again, there has been in the last 5 years enormous developments, both negative and positive, to see, first of all, the fact that how damaging vaccines can be, and positives in terms of whether we actually even need them in the first place. So again, the problem with vaccine accidents, let's call it that for now, is that there is without any doubt an effect on the autoimmune system of the body, and that can go all the way to death within a few minutes of vaccines, or it can go into permanent chronic disease that never seems to get better. Now, all of that permanent chronic disease sides of it we can address, and we should address in a separate podcast, because it can be helped. And again, lifestyle medicine can help, detoxification can help. So we can look at all of that, but don't lose hope is what I'm saying to everyone. There are ways around it, but it is without any doubt caused a lot of chronic health
Yeah.
and health problems
Yeah.
over the
Thank,
world.
thank you. And before we wrap up, I think now that we've kind of opened the idea to people, you know, you need Dr. Beran, you need the health range. One of the things that health is becoming a big industry, and there are a lot of MLM companies out there, and they're selling like a one pill fixes all. You know, hey, take this really expensive pill, and it'll sort out all your inflammation and all this, that, and the other. Some of them are probably, you know, pretty good. But what I love about when I was introduced to you and the way that you're doing this, it's natural, but you also are looking at different it's different things for different things. Although we're treating the body as a whole, there are still sometimes bits like you know that you need a bit of help for that particular part of the body, and it's weird because it's almost like a contradiction. But tell me more about that, and also about, I know that you source your ingredients from the most wonderful natural places in South Africa, so very quickly, if you can, tell us about that and how people can get more and find out more about working with you.
Right. So let's start with the difference between a supplement you buy on the internet and a functional health supplement medicine that will help you, which is completely from natural sources. Now, as you know, the internet is big business. Companies spend millions of dollars on advertising their supplements, which they then obtain in the cheapest possible way from China and sell and make a huge profit on, but they're not necessarily the best quality. And the person buying them doesn't even know what is the best dosage for them personally. So ideally, it's okay, it might be natural, but it's not necessarily going to help you. A functional health natural supplement has first of all been researched by natural medicine supplement scientists. I am a natural medicine supplement scientist. And that's why when I decided 15 years ago that I really wanted to create our own range where we source all the natural ingredients from the best possible source, we don't use any junk toxic fillers. We only use the natural way of filling, or the capsules or vegetarian capsules. So it became a passion of mine. And then as I researched it further and further, I discovered that the best way to do this is create our own range called Gen X Health. And what we find is that we also offer them via other doctors and nutritionists because they understand what the value of the best quality, and even life coaches as yourself. If you go with a multi-level marketing, a lot of the cost of the product is actually commission for the people selling and all those down the pyramid. But we don't do that. We don't believe in that. We say we work only with other professionals who are able to understand the value of the quality of the ingredients. And although we may not make that much profit as the multi-level ones, our patients have been working with us since 5 years ago when we started, and they continue to take our natural medicine supplements because they work. And that for me is the best way forward.
That's brilliant. So people can actually just go to your website and have a browse and see what's available. And for a lot of people who are just looking at prevention, general health, that's brilliant. And
They can, and they can even more, they can go and speak to one of our functional health practitioners for free for a 15-minute mini consult,
oh wow, that's amazing.
just to get a feel of what they're looking for, why they're looking for it, and then we can see how we can help further.
Yeah, absolutely. And then for those who want to take it further, they can get in touch and you can introduce them to somebody who can like get those tests done and a full diagnosis. Thank you so much. I know that you're short on time and and you've already given longer than you promised, so that's amazing.
It's my absolute pleasure. And I think this is a start of probably a Beran Tina ongoing podcast. Sure there will
Absolutely.
be, and I'd love that to happen. And I've really appreciated the questions. I'm so curious and interested to hear more from your audience. And I look forward to working with you a lot more on this and developing more and more assistance and help for all those people that need it.
Thank you. Likewise.
Thanks so much, Tina, and see you next time. Bye for now.